Hello, welcome back, students. Good evening to all of you, to all my subscribers, followers, dear students. Today, I'm back again with another video to my channel, Smart Codings, that is concept on string handling. This is the part 1 video. Now, I request you to watch the video completely, which will be based on concepts on various concepts on strings. If any doubt, any problem, or any difficulties in understanding, do let me know in the YouTube comment section. And if any of the students comment and ask me in the YouTube comment section regarding any topic or any doubt, and if that comment gets a maximum like, based on that topic, I'll be making a video next. So let's get started with string in Java. Now, as you can see, students, there are basically two types of data types in Java, that is primitive and non-primitive. Basically, main division. In primitive, under primitive, there are integer, float, character, double, boolean, byte, short, long, and all these things. Total 8 are there, and those 8 have a fixed size. But in case of non-primitive types like arrays, classes, or strings, these are non-primitive types. Their size are not fixed. First point is this: string is a non-primitive data type because its size is not fixed. Keep this in mind. Second point is string is basically a sequence of characters, or we can say an array of characters, or we can say a collection of characters. That means, let me show you in a notepad over here. Suppose I am declaring one string type variable, like a string str. Okay, now str is a variable of string type. String is a data type which is non-primitive. Now equal to, I'm writing here, suppose hello. Now this hello is a collection of characters, HELLO. There are total 5 characters which should be in double quote. But we represent character like this in single quote, like this. Now when it is a collection of characters, it becomes a string. So that's the main motive to show you this example, dear students. String is a sequence of characters or an array of characters or collection of characters. Now for example, there is a character array over here, char c. This is a c is an array which is having 3 characters within single quote because it's a character type. Now this character array of characters can be represented in terms of string also, like this: string s1 equal to new string sc. That means string c. That means this total array of characters we are storing in a string type variable, that is s1. We are creating one reference variable of string type using a new operator. Then we are storing this c inside this s1. Okay, now s1 contains abc in double quote, because now this c is being stored in s1, which contains a collection of characters, because as per the definition goes, I have told you it is an array of characters or collection of characters. Hope is this clear? If any doubt till here, do let me know in the comment section. I'll be clearing your doubts. There should not be any difficulty and the session should be interactive. Now, the basic point: string is a non-primitive data types because its size is not fixed. Examples like strings, arrays, these are non-primitive types, and primitive types are basically integer, character, boolean, double, etc. Total 8 are there. Now string is basically a sequence of characters or array of characters, collection of characters. Basically we say it's an array of characters. Example I've shown you over here, that is it's an array of characters which can be stored in a string type variable, that is s1, and we can represent this line, this string s1 equal to new string c, as this also. These two, second and third line, are equivalent. Next point is string is a class. String is a class, that's why we write s as capital. Okay, now every class in Java has its parent class, and that name of the parent class is object class. Similarly, string has also a parent class, which is under a parent class that is known as object class. So object class is a parent class of a string class. Keep in mind, for every classes there is a parent class, and the parent class name is object class, and string also is under object class. These are the basic few points based on this string. Now let's move on to the next. We can create string objects as follows. We can create string objects as follows. That is, we can create string s1 equal to new string. That means we are creating object in Java using a new operator. Now this s1 is a string type variable, right? String type variable which is being created in some memory location. So as you have told you earlier, that whenever we create objects in Java, it is created using new operator. Okay, now this, whenever we create an object using new operator, it is created in the heap memory area. Now your question is, students, what is heap memory? It's a memory area where all the objects are stored. Keep in mind, like stack memory area is a memory area where all the reference variables and primitive data types are stored, and in the heap memory area all the objects are stored. Like all the static variables are stored in the class area. So there are certain memory areas in Java. So what is required, I'm telling you, whatever the objects you create using new operator, so all those are stored in heap memory area. Okay, but in the context of string, the concept is a little bit different. In this case, whenever we create an object using string, it is being created inside an SCP memory area. SCP is basically a string constant pool, or string literal pool it is known as. So that SCP memory area, I'll be explaining that part in detail in the next slide, which is located inside a heap memory area. So whatever objects or string type objects we create using new operator, it will create an immutable objects. Immutable objects means unchangeable or non-changeable objects. Keep in mind, whatever the objects we create using new operator, string objects, it will create an immutable objects, that is non-changeable. So I hope this part is clear here. So whatever the objects, suppose here in this case we are creating an s1 string objects here, it will create immutable objects. That means we cannot change that string value, as the immutable name itself says that it is non-changeable or unchangeable. Now next point is, to create a string in Java, there are three main classes. We can create string using string class, or StringBuffer class, or string builder class. Now in the context of the syllabus, there is only string class and StringBuffer class. String builder class is not in your syllabus, so we'll bypass this. For knowledge sake, I have given the mentioned this string builder class also. If you want a video on string builder class, I'll be making it next. So basically, according to your syllabus, string class and StringBuffer class are used to create a string objects. Keep in mind. Now next. So in this concept and string constant pool, now see, whenever you store a string as directly, okay, that means we can create using this string class. See, string is, this is a string class, S is capital over here. Directly using this string class, we can create a string that is called str1, which is having a value called hello. Now str1 is pointing, this is hello, this is a string object which is being pointed by str1. Now whenever we create this string directly using a string class, then JVM creates a string object with the given value in the separate block of memory, which is known as SCP, string constant pool. That means this total, this whole circle is a heap memory. Okay, now inside this heap memory there is a separate block of memory which we call as SCP memory area, where all the strings are stored. This is the main concept. All the objects are stored in where? All the objects which are created using a new operator are stored in heap memory area. But from Java 1.7 version, that SCP memory is stored inside the heap memory area, transferred to heap memory area. Before Java 1.7, that is Java 1.6, SCP memory area was not inside heap memory. From Java 1.7 version, SCP is being transferred to heap memory area. Now, inside a heap block, heap memory area, there is a separate memory area which is called as SCP memory area, where all the strings are stored. Now, whenever we create a string objects like str1 using a string class directly like this without using new operator, that is created inside a SCP memory area. Okay. Now, str is a reference variable which is pointing to this string object over here, and it has some address also, that is system generated. JVM allocates this random address for this str1 variable. So only one object is created here inside SCP memory area, which is referred by str1, which is a reference variable. I hope this is clear to you, students. That means whenever we create directly using a string class any string objects, it is stored in the SCP memory area. Now SCP is stored where? It is a separate block of memory which is inside a heap memory only, and inside that SCP memory area, that string objects means hello will be stored over here, and that is being referred by some reference variable, that is str1. This is clearly mentioned over here. So this is a concept of this is a string constant pool, also known as string literal pool. Next, so when you create a string using a new operator, now whenever you create a string using a new operator like this, string str1 equal to new string Java. Okay, in this case we are using string class only, but you are using new operator here to create a string, and the string object is Java over here. Now, as because new operator used here, okay, that's why this Java will be created inside a heap first. See, this is a heap memory, this circle. Suppose this is a heap memory area where the string object is created, and which is pointed by str1, referred by str1. It's very clear over here. Now, I have told you that all the string objects are stored in SCP also. So as because of new here, it is created in heap memory area first, then it is created in SCP memory area, that is in this block. So two objects will be created here inside heap area due to new operator, and as because it is a string object, it will be created in the SCP memory area also. But in the previous slide, directly if we create any string, it will not be in the heap, it will only in the SCP memory area, that is string constant pool. This is the main difference. Whenever we create directly with a string class, and whenever we creating string objects using a string class but with a new operator, it will be created in two places. As because of new operator is used here, it will be in the heap memory area, and string objects are also created separately in the SCP memory area. So this is the concept behind this string constant pool. So two objects are created here, as I've written here, and this string objects which is inside the SCP memory area. For this, a reference will be created like this by JVM itself. Okay, we don't create; it will be created by JVM itself internally. JVM internally creates a reference like this. Suppose this string object inside a heap is pointed by str1, but the object which is created inside the SCP memory area, for that object the reference is created by JVM internally. So this two slide, again I am explaining here. Whenever we create any string objects directly using a string class, it will be stored in some memory location. That memory location, that separate block is known as SCP memory area, that is string constant pool. But all other normal objects which you create in Java, that is stored in heap memory area, as because of new operator. But in this case, strings are stored in this memory area, which is known as SCP. I hope this part is clear. If any doubt, any difficulty in these two slides, students, feel free to speak to smart codings. Smart coding will be always there to help you out with your doubts and difficulties. It really motivates me to make videos to help my dear students based on these typical concepts on programmings. And programming is also interesting when you write code and making something new developments, getting some new logics, implementing some new logic, getting some new output. So it's very interesting. It makes you think more and more. It increases your technical skills of writing code and this. So I hope this is clear. So string is basically a non-primitive types. It is a class and it is a collection of characters or array of characters. Okay. Now we can create string by three main classes, that is string class, string builder class, and string buffer class. But in the syllabus, we have only string class and string buffer class. So we'll be focusing on string class and string buffer class. Okay. Now using string class, we can create objects by two ways: directly, like this, as we have seen in the last slide. This one. Let me show you once again. This directly using a string class, we can create a string objects over here, or using a new operator over here, using a string class. I hope this part is clear to you. Now, what is heap memory area? What is a SCP memory area? Heap memory area is the area where all the objects are stored. Keep in mind, whenever we create a new object using a new operator, all the objects are being stored in heap memory area. Just keep this in mind. But in case of string, the concept is a little bit different. All the strings are stored in SCP memory area. As because we are using new here, that is also created here in heap first, then it will be created here in SCP memory area, and this reference will be created by JVM internally. Let's move on to the next. So when you create a string using a new operator, suppose string s1, new string java1. So as you can see here, s1 is a reference variable of string type, and we are creating a string object that is called java1, and it is with a string class but with new string class. We are creating only using string class. I'm not saying anything about string buffer now. We are using a string class but using new operator here. As because of new, this java1 will be created first in heap, then in SCP here. See, two objects will be created here separately. Same for this s2, and it is pointed, java1 is pointed by s1. Now java2 again same thing. It says first you will find a match over here. If any java2 is there already, then it will not create in SCP, but it will create in heap area here. So like example, java2 is again a new string objects which is being referred by s2, so it will be created first in heap, then in SCP, both the memory location. Now again java1, now it will find a match over here if any object is already there or not. Yes, already java1 is available here, so it will not create in SCP memory area, but it will be there in heap, and which is pointed by or referred by s3. Clear? As because java1 is already there in SCP, it will not make any duplicate value over here, but it will be there in heap memory here. Now again, we can create using string class using new operator and without using new also, like this directly. String s4 equal to java4. So this is a string object. Now it will find a match over here if it is there or not. It's not there, so it will create a java4 first here. Fine. Here only it will make, because I have told you, using directly using a string objects, it will be creating the string objects in SCP memory area, not in the heap. In the heap it will create only when it is using new. I hope this part is clear. So heap memory is this memory area. Under this there is a separate block where all the strings are stored. That is known as SCP memory area, or SLP, string literal pool. I hope this part is clear, dear students. Now let us move on to the next topic. Now, as I've said you that string class and string buffer class are used to create a string objects. So let us know the difference between string class and string buffer class. Okay, so in terms of these points, we will be differentiating between these two string class and string buffer class, that is storage. allocates memory in heap area and SCP memory area. Whenever we create an object using string class, it creates we can create using new and without new. If we are using in without new, then it creates in SCP. But if we are using new operator, just now I have showed you, it creates in heap also, right? So in string class, we string objects are stored in both the memory area, but in string buffer only in heap, because we cannot directly create in string buffer class. We have to use new operator in case of string buffer class objects. In terms of object, creating object using string class creates a immutable strings. I will show you this topic in with a practical demonstration later on. Just keep in mind, creating string using a string objects makes it immutable objects, but creating object using string buffer class creates a mutable object. Mutable means changeable. We can change the string value, but in this case it is non-changeable. Okay, now if we change the string value a lot of times, then it will allocate more memory. Suppose using a string class, suppose let me show you this one. Let us open a word here. Suppose using a, just a minute students, suppose using a string class, suppose I'm creating an object over here, that is, let us draw a shape over here, this one. We are creating object over here, right? Inside this some object is there using a string class. Suppose hello is there, suppose hello object is here using a string class. Fine. Now what is being said over here, if we change the string value a lot of times, now suppose if we want to change the string object over here, we want to make some changes in the original object over here. This is the original object. Suppose this is pointed by s1 variable. Okay, now this is pointed by s1 variable. Suppose now this is a s1 variable over here. Suppose s1. Okay, now this s1 is pointing to this object, suppose, or let us change this arrow to like this for your more convenience. Suppose this s1 is pointing to this hello object over here. Let us draw this shape first. Okay, fine. Now this s1 is pointing to this hello object, which is the original string. Now if you want to make some changes to this, suppose I want to add here with hello, I want to add hello world. So I want to make some changes in this string so that I can write a new string, that is a hello world. Now it will not be changed here, because string objects using this, suppose this is we are creating using like this string, using string class. So using string class, if you create an object like this, it is immutable, that non-changeable. It will, what it will do here, suppose if you want to multiple times, if you want to change the string object over here, it will create a separate object in the SCP memory area like this, and inside this it will be hello world. Inside this it will be hello world like this. Suppose this is a string object over here. Okay, other object, suppose for example I'm taking this one. Now suppose this will be hello world. Okay, so any changes if you want to do over here using the object which is created using a string class, it will not be changed here, because string objects are immutable. It will create a separate object here, and in that we can change here hello world. And due to this property of string, it is immutable. That's why the difference over here is, if we change a string value a lot of time, then we will allocate a more memory, because every time you want to change over here, it will not change here because of the immutable property. Okay, it will be creating different objects different times. So creating more objects will take more memory, obviously. So that is the main concept. But in case of this one, string buffer, it consumes more memory. Sorry, in this case it will be less memory. In this case it will be less memory over here. Okay, now performance is slow in this case, in string, using string class, or whatever the objects are created, it has a slow performance. But in this, as compared to string class, string buffer class performance is fast. Keep this in mind, students. So I hope this part is clear to you. So these are the various difference between string class and string buffer class. Now let us go back to the this one BlueJ tutorial, and let me show you some examples. Suppose there is a suppose there is a string objects we are creating with a string class, okay, and the string object is known as computer. That will be stored in SCP memory area because it has no new operator over here. Fine. That means using string class we can create string by two ways: without using new, directly like this, using a string literal. Using a string literal, that is directly using a string literal, we can create a string objects here, or by using new operator like this. Both the ways. Now if you want to print the S1 and S2, it will get a output computer, then we'll get one application. Let us see. Compile it. No syntax error. Now right click on this. Fine. That means using a string class we can create string objects by two ways: without using new, directly by using string literal, or using new operator. Fine. So let us close this. Another one. So this part will be telling later on. Let us come to StringBuffer class. But in case of StringBuffer class, if we want to open this one, okay, now suppose I want to create a string object without using new. In case of StringBuffer class, see, this is a StringBuffer class. Compile it, so it will throw an error, because using StringBuffer class we cannot create a string object directly like this. We have to use a new operator over here, so it won't work. So let us close this. So StringBuffer class, we can create objects, string objects using StringBuffer class only using new operator like this. Suppose S1 pointing to this string object computer and S2 pointing to the string object applications. Fine. That means in StringBuffer class, whenever we create using new operator, it will be stored in both the memory location, that is in heap as well as SCP. Okay. As you can see here, I have told you in the difference. StringBuffer class, it only stores in heap memory area, but in string class it's stored in SCP as well as in heap. Okay, so keep this in mind. Now see this example. So let me show you the output of that program. Computer applications. So keep in mind, students, that using StringBuffer class we can create string object is only using new operator. Okay, so that is what is StringBuffer class. Now let us come to this one, string demo 2. Suppose I have given a class name main method. Now see, there is one string object computer which is being stored in S1 reference variable, string S1 equal to computer. Now if I want to make some changes to this S1, suppose I want to add something to this original object computer by like this s1.concat, where concat is a function under string class. I'll be telling in detail later on all the functions of string class and StringBuffer class. As of now, suppose I want to change the original object over here. I want to concat something like applications, a new object to this original object computer, and I want to print S1. Let us see. See, the change is not shown because string objects are immutable. Because of this property only, string objects are immutable. See, using this string class we are using trying to do this, and as I have showed in the difference, string objects are immutable. See, string objects are immutable. Creating object using string class creates immutable objects. That's why you can't change it. So whenever we want to make a change to this, it will create a separate memory object over here, and it will create computer applications. It will create a separate object, and it will change will be there. But in that original object we can't change. That's why the output is showing computer only after concat also. Fine. But in case of StringBuffer, it is mutable. Suppose we are creating a computer string over here, that is a string object that is stored in S1. Now concat function won't work here because in case of StringBuffer there is a function called append. S1.append, we want to change the original object over here, it will work. Let me show you. So that is what is computer application. C. That's why this is StringBuffer objects are mutable. Change can be done, but in string objects are immutable. Okay, so let us come to the difference again. Allocates memory in heap and SCP. Suppose we are creating the object using new operator, it will be creating in heap as well as in the SCP memory area, but without using new, it will create only in SCP. But in string buffer class, it always allocates memory in heap only. Keep in mind, it always create in heap only. In case of string buffer, in terms of storage, this is the point of difference. Immutable and mutable, I have told you. And why it takes more memory, it takes less memory, I have told you. Performance is slow and it is fast as compared to string class. So these are the main 4 points of difference. Students, kindly go through this. I won't make the video too long now. So if you find any doubt or any difficulty in understanding, do comment me in the YouTube comment sections. Happy learning with smart codings. Thank you.